and welcome to the Publishing by the Numbers podcast. It is the 1st of July, at least here in the States. So that means that most of us are hunkering down with barbecues and getting ready for the 4th of July holiday. And there might be fireworks and all sorts of cool stuff. It's a busy, busy weekend. I am here today with my two amazing co-hosts, with Virginia Anderson, who is not in the US, so she doesn't care. Hi, Virginia.
I do care. Hi, I do care because there's a lot of good shopping deals happening around that time.
That's true.
I do care.
Very good point.
That's true. One of my favorite cover artists is doing a extravaganza bonanza, and I don't need any more pre-mades, but will I come away with pre-mades? Oh, it's very, very possible. And CJ Anaya is also with us. Hi, CJ.
Hello. Hi, everyone. Yay.
Yay, it's all good. And it is episode 38. And today we're going to talk about some changes from Amazon. We will do these kinds of episodes every now and again, especially when we know that there is a big change that's come out that is affecting publishing and authors and all of that kind of thing, because we want to be one of the sources you come to stay abreast of these kinds of issues. So today we're going to talk about some changes at Amazon that actually dropped earlier in the month, but we've been kind of waiting to see exactly how they were going to fall out so that we would have more data for you. And now we are at least mostly there, I think. So Virginia, you want to take charge with printing prices and talk about what's changed there?
Yes. So, I want to take charge, but I'm not really taking any charge. Basically, I should be the one asking questions and then ask Jenna and CJ to answer those questions. But I am aware of what's happening, only just. So what happened is since the 20th of June, KDP has finally decided to increase its paperback and hardcover print cost. So from now on, for all the books that has a trim size that's above 6 inches by 9 inches, you will see an increase in your print cost. So we'll put in the show notes that page with all these the details of the cost, but basically if your trim size was previously 6 by 9 or above, our recommendation is really for you to go in and check and to see if you actually having any royalty left after Amazon has taken its share. Because let's face it, we're not doing it for the sake of doing it. So if there's once nothing left for you, what's the point? So all of you, and you also depending on the page count of your book. So I think everything above 108 pages will also have an impact on the printing cost. So the moral of the story is please go and check your royalty and your print cost and raise the price if you need to do so. That's it.
Yep, very good. And I know a lot of people are complaining about Amazon doing this, but guys, they've kept it steady while Ingram Spark has changed their prices twice, maybe 3 times. And even Amazon cannot bear all of the increases without eventually passing it through. So really, when I did the calculations on mine, it was pretty reasonable. It didn't make a huge difference in most cases. And in the other cases, I bumped things up just a tiny bit. So this is going to happen. Print gets expensive, so it's a thing.
I mean, everything has to increase in price in life. I think it's and honestly, maybe I'm saying this from a very privileged position, but if a book is costing 50 cents or $1 more than it used to be, I'm still not going to spend a million years deciding whether I'm going to buy that book. So this is the thing with books. It's a spontaneous purchase. You like a book, you like an author, you go, you get it, and that's it. That's the end of the story. So don't feel too alarmed or like it's the end of the world. It is not. But for you to make a living out of it, please guys go check for your books.
Mm-hmm. And also this may mean more people buying ebooks. So take a look at your ebook costs and see, do you want to bump those up a little bit? Because we've seen the prices of ebooks going up just in general as a general trend, and you might be able to take advantage of that depending on your genre. So,
Okay.
all right, CJ, you want to talk about the KU kerfuffle?
Yes.
I love the word kerfuffle. It's just fun to say, kerfuffle, kerfuffle. Anyway, go ahead.
Fun thing to say. I would have to agree. So there are a lot of really great uses for AI generated material. You could do AI generated outlines for your book, book descriptions, ad copy. However, some people have become a little naughty with their use of AI, and they've just gone gung-ho when it comes to just using AI to write books, and that's it. And basically taking the book that the AI has generated, doing no editing whatsoever, not checking the interior, not checking the content or anything, and they have bombarded Amazon with that, specifically in the teen and young adult romance genres. And so, Jana, you know a little bit more about this with the what you were calling a clickbait scenario. Do you want to kind of update us on that and tell us a little more about that? Because I found that both fascinating and horrific, and I would like to know more.
Yeah, so the specific thing that people are up in arms about right now is there were hundreds of books that are these, they're just generated nonsense. They don't even make sense, with quickly generated covers. They were all shoved into KU, and then a click farm that's foreign to the US would go in and just click through all the KU pages, which then turns into royalties that come into those accounts. And so it was doing that. And part of the problem is not just the royalties, but it's also that meant that these books ended up taking over all the top rank spots, which means that visibility for everybody else gets pushed down, 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 down. Not a thing that we want. And so Amazon is on top of it. They figured out what was going on. They're getting rid of those books. All of the royalties will be straightened out. So no authors are really losing royalties, but it's a really sucky time if you happen to be, launching your book that day and you couldn't get up into the top 100 because so many spots were filled with these junk AI books and the click farms that were keeping it in those top rankings. So that's part of why people are getting very upset, both over that, AI made this possible, but it has happened before. It's not just AI, this happened several years ago with another foreign company where, again, it was just nonsense books put up. AI just meant that you can create the nonsense faster.
Isn't that lovely? Okay. Yeah. So if you're concerned about that or worried about that, if you noticed any issues with ranking when you just barely published, if you're noticing any issues with AMS ads, because I've been noticing that as well, there's just a lot between all of these changes they've made in the pricing, changes that they've made in the categories, which we're going to get to next, and then just all of the, people trying to game the system. It makes it very difficult for certain things to be happening in the background within Amazon's ecosystem, and then just within Amazon's, the AMS ads. Have you guys noticed any more impressions with your AMS ads, or have you guys been fighting for visibility on that as well? You guys noticed anything?
Oh, fighting for visibility, fighting every step of the way.
Yeah. So hopefully that will all smooth out once all of these things get smoothed out. But if you're noticing those things, just know that you're not alone, and also that this is part of what's happening. So if AMS ads are no longer working for you due to this, then it may be time to explore other options until things within Amazon's ecosystem settles down. Just FYI there. Now, was there anything else you guys wanted to add before we explore the changes in categories? Yay, nay?
Yeah, I think we're okay there.
Okay, we're going to have a little demonstration for those of you listening on our podcast. I apologize if you missed this. You can come over to YouTube and see what Jana does here and actually watch what she does. But we want to talk about the changes to categories, specifically that you are no longer allowed to email Amazon with your 10 categories for your books. You are only allowed to have 3. And so, Jana, delve into that some more, please. Tell us all about it.
All right. This is a change that we've kind of seen coming for a while. The change first was just that suddenly people were only ranking in 3 categories, but they could still have 10. And then things were getting stranger and stranger, and we were seeing strange things in AMS ads when it came to trying to run category ads. So finally, Amazon has finished this rollout, and they started messing with this clearback last fall. So it's been almost a year worth of messing with stuff. And the way things are now, it used to be that you would be able to select 2 categories when you uploaded your book, and they generally came from what we call the BISAC categories, and that's the book industry standard categories, which are the same you would get on Draft to Digital that you'd get anyplace else. And then Amazon has tens of thousands of their own that are subcategories and subcategories and subcategories, sometimes 4 or 5 levels deep. So if you wanted to get into those subcategories and get into more niche audiences, then what you had to do was send Amazon an email that says, okay, I've selected these 2 top level categories. Would you please put me in the following 8 subcategories? And then they would go in and they would do that. Now you can see that this could be a real pain in the drain for Amazon, because they had to hand do every single one of those. And when we're all sending them in over and over again and then saying, oh, I didn't like this one, please change it to that one, and back and forth, it had to be a gigantic pain in that, you know what, I almost said a naughty word, but I did good, and I didn't say it. Look at me go, wee. It's been a day, guys. I'm a little punchy, which makes for fun recording. But anyway, so it was really hard for them. And the other thing that you got was a lot of what we call category pollution going on. And this would be where you get romance books in the middle of your hard sci-fi. You get YA books that keep getting classified as children's books. You get a lot of this crossover where things are ending up in the wrong category. You don't have a way to remove those categories. And a lot of readers complaining because they can't find the books they want. And that is the point of categories. And it's why we don't need to panic over this change, because the point of this is to get more specific about being in the right categories. So for people who were gaming the categories to say, let me find some category that may or may not apply to my book, but I could get a bestseller flag in, that's the other abuse that we're trying to get rid of. Okay, so before that was the process. The process now, and I will open up a window for those who are on YouTube, but for those who aren't, I'll explain as I go, and hopefully that will help for the most part. So now when you go and you're going to upload your book for the first time, and there's 2 different things. There's uploading your book for the first time, and there's making changes if you already have a book uploaded. This is something that's already uploaded, but it looks the same. So if I were uploading my book for the first time, I would come in, I would select my publishing rights. Then you come to your primary audience, and it's going to ask you a question about adult-only content. This is for things like erotica, stuff that has graphic violence, graphic gore, anything like that. The answer is yes. Right now, we're saying that steamy content that is not erotica is still a no. Same thing with having some violent content. So for example, I write fantasy, there are big fantasy battles. That's no. Yes, some of that content is not appropriate for children under the age of 18, but what happens is that yes means that depending on the browser settings of the user, you might not be able to send ads, you might not be able to even get seen or searched. And this is a problem that's existed for a long time. And Amazon is not giving anyone a straight answer about whether they're going to fix it, so that saying yes doesn't automatically mean that you go into what we fondly call the Amazon dungeon, where your book loses all visibility. So for right now, the advice is to say no, unless it is erotica or very graphic in any of those other things. In those cases, you need to say yes, because if you say no and they find it, then they'll take the book down and you can lose your account. So, but that's kind of where the line is right now. This is important because one of the new rules with the new categories is if you choose based on the age that you choose, then you will have access only to YA categories, or only to adult categories, or only to children categories. No longer can you do the thing where you're straddling and you say, well, the book is kind of YA becoming adult, and so I have some in YA and I have some in adult. We can't do that anymore. You have to make a choice up or down. Okay, so once you've set that, then you can come down and you'll have a primary marketplace. You choose the one that's appropriate for you, and then you go into categories. And so when you go into categories, you'll click choose categories. And before, this would only show the, again, the BISAC categories, and you would click 2. Now you go in and you're going to get nested lists. So if I'm going to go into my category here, I can go down to science fiction and fantasy, and then I can choose a subcategory. In my case, it's fantasy. And then I can choose more subcategories. So I might be able to go fantasy, paranormal, and urban, and then go to paranormal. So the idea is you want to nest as deeply as you can where it is still appropriate to your book. Okay, making sure your categories match is a big deal because Amazon is going to be policing this more vigorously. We'll call it vigorously, to make sure that the books, the keywords, and the categories all go together the way that they should. It's a bad experience for their readers when it doesn't, and they care more about the readers than anybody else because that's where the money comes from. Okay, but you want to nest as far as you can because all the parent categories will also be categories your book appears in. So if I go Kindle books, science fiction and fantasy, fantasy, paranormal, and urban paranormal, I get that entire chain. I also get Kindle books, science fiction and fantasy, fantasy, paranormal, and urban. I get Kindle books, science fiction and fantasy, fantasy, Kindle books, science fiction and fantasy, and Kindle books. So this is how now you get a bunch of categories where your book gets visibility. But because they're nested like that, they're all appropriate all the way up the chain. So you're getting much, much better visibility, and you're not having to do nearly as much work to figure it out, which is a very, very lovely thing. So you want to choose 3 of those, and you want to choose the ones that are very best placement for your book. Now, the nice thing here is that at any point after you publish your book, you can also come back and you can change your categories. Currently, the advice is about every 6 months to take a look at your categories, consider whether something needs to be changed, or if Amazon adds categories that are particularly appropriate for your book, then you may immediately want to go in and make a change. Remember, when you make changes to categories, to keywords, to blurbs, any of those things, it takes a while for that to move through the Amazon ecosystem. So don't make a change and 24 hours later go, well, that was stupid, I'm going to change it again. Don't be that person. Be zen, meditate, do whatever it takes to be patient, and give it time and watch the data. And then change based on data, not just based on, I think that I'm going to change it today because. Okay, so you choose those 3, you move forward, and you do your publishing. If you are looking at a book you've already got up, and we've stopped the slideshow now, so for those who are just listening, you don't have to worry about what you're missing because you're not. So if you already have a book that's been published, when you go in and you look at the details, it will tell you you need to update your categories. You can choose whether or not to do that. And there are pros and cons. If right now you're already in just some really general categories, this is a good time to go in and get 3 specific categories that are appropriate to your book. Make sure you get those parent categories, make sure that it looks really, really good. If you have really great categories that are working for you really, really well, you may want to leave it alone. As of right now, and this may change, Amazon is not stripping away those categories that you've already got, except in cases where they got rid of the categories altogether. So a few people are going in and finding that they've lost all their categories because the ones they selected were ones that Amazon put the kibosh on. But otherwise, you may have a bunch of really great categories, and if you make changes, it will wipe those categories out to put you in the 3 new ones that you choose. So you need to look at every book and every series and decide whether now is the right time to change categories, and can you get it into a better place, or does the data tell you that where you are is where you need to be and that you want to stay there. So just remember, try really hard to always be data driven with this so that you are looking at what you're getting and then doubling down. Hey, we did a play, guys. Doubling down on the things that work the best for you. I think in the long run, this is going to be really, really positive for authors. Right now, it's really confusing for most of us, and it is making some of the data that comes back look a little bit funky, but that's going to even out as everybody gets their categories cleared out. And the other nice thing is it means that you no longer get, some big book taking over the top of 20 or 30 categories. It is providing a lot of opportunity for other authors to get into that top 100 and get the visibility. And as we talk about all the time, our biggest competition is not other authors. Readers are going to read lots of different books. That's one of the joys of books, but it's the visibility so that the reader even knows that your book exists. So if these changes can give you better visibility, then that's really, really positive. But it does mean you need to go and look at it. If you have a lot of books, you may want to hire somebody to help you look at it. All right, girls, anything that I missed? Anything you want to add there?
Yeah, just in the idea that this could be a little bit confusing. I've had some students say, you know what, I've looked at the data in Publisher Rocket, because you can get applicable categories from Publisher Rocket. And I've talked about how some things have not exactly matched up within, you know, the KDP form. That's okay. It's okay if that huge thread doesn't match up exactly. Just try to get it close enough. Okay. You can still look at the numbers. You can still look at the data. And what you may find is that what is there in your Publisher Rocket account, it's just not, it does not exist. It's not listed at all within KDP. Again, look at what is most relevant to help you with that. I also had another question, which I found really interesting, was that we have issues with, you know, the UK and Germany and all of these other places not aligning exactly with what is being provided within the KDP form, because before you could do all of that research, right? You could do that on Publisher Rocket and other places, or even just manually, and figure out the exact 10 categories for ebook and the exact 10 categories for paperback within each of Amazon's marketplaces, and then go email that. That is no longer the case. It's good to know it, I think, for AMS ads, if those categories still exist within those specific marketplaces. But as far as just picking what you need, all you get is what's in KDP's form. And it applies across the board through all of those marketplaces. They don't differentiate in that form between whether or not it's a UK one, or they're just going to apply it the best they can across all of those marketplaces. So pay attention to that. Be okay with that. It's okay if you can't find the exact UK thread, or the exact Canada thread that you found in Publisher Rocket, or the exact Germany thread, because I know a lot of us are doing all of that information, all of that research. It's okay. Just, again, going back to what Janice said, pick what is most relevant and really dig deep into those sub niches so that you can be in all of those places and get that visibility the way that you need to. Key is relevancy. Please, please, whatever is most relevant, that is going to be most impactful for your book. And that's all that I have. Do you guys, Virginie, do you have anything else you want to add?
No, I think
before
I cannot say any better. So you covered everything.
Okay. I did want to mention one thing about ISBNs, just because this seems to be an ongoing thing. I had someone mention to me that in Ingram Spark, or a few, maybe it wasn't an Ingram Spark representative, but it was someone in the know within Ingram, was saying that when you are first launching your book, in order to avoid the vendor of record issue that is occurring, and if you guys are not sure what's happening with that, there's been some issues with the ISBNs. If you publish first on Amazon and then you try to go publish on Draft to Digital or Ingram Spark, then what happens is you get problems with that, because they don't want Amazon to be the vendor of record, which is the first person who published your book of record. They want to be the first people on the record who published. So the suggestion was, well, just publish your books the same day, publish them on Amazon and publish them on Draft to Digital the same day. And then it's up for grabs as to who was the first person to publish those for the vendor of record. I found that funny and interesting. I don't know if that's a top one hack there or something. But Janet, and Virginie, do you guys have any more information on the fallout that is the ISBN? Or suggestions as to how people handle this moving forward, with Ingram being fairly up in arms about being the vendor of record on that ISBN?
No, and then I think this is a general comment that applies to a lot of things. If something is not within your control, do your best and let the rest be.
Yeah.
I think some of them are trying to change Amazon. Amazon will never not change for you. So you just have to do whatever you can best with whatever resources and information you have available, and then hope for the best. I think in most of the cases, the Amazon's interest and the author's interest are aligned. Amazon wants to provide the best user experience to the customers, and we as publishers, we also have similar interest. So I don't see any of those changes that we mentioned as some sort of Amazon is just trying to make our life hard. Amazon might try that, but in other situations. But I think those changes are actually going to make our life as publishers better. So I'm not overly worried about those kind of things.
And the only thing the ISBN issue, I know of 3 workarounds. The first one is what you said, publish on the same day and spin the roulette wheel, see what happens. The second one is you can go through a whole process to get Amazon to release being the vendor of record. It takes for freaking ever. I tried to do it and it took so long that I stopped trying to do it because it kind of just gets lost and round filed somewhere. So that is a possibility. I know people who have managed to do all of that, but it sucks. And then the third one is to have multiple ISBN numbers for the same book, for the same format, which we are told we are not supposed to do, but nobody is actually enforcing that. And it goes through really, really smooth. So sooner or later, someone is going to tell us to stop doing that. But right now, that is an easy way to do it. And the people it messes up the most is actually brick and mortar stores, because then they end up having multiple ISBN numbers and they have to make a guess as to which one they want to order in. And they don't often want to order in the Amazon one. They're much happier with the Ingram Spark one because that's the general catalog they pull from. But this now means you can have multiple in the general catalog. So there are problems happening in the background, but until Bowker or some of the folks in the background who control that actually figures out a better workaround, those are the 2 that are going to happen. Is either you publish them on the same day and say what happens, or you start having an ISBN number for each different distributor, even though that's technically not what we're supposed to do. And it can get really expensive in the countries like mine where they charge you for it. But those are the only workarounds I know at this time.
If we do the first option, publish same day on Draft Digital and Amazon, so you're entering the one that you purchased, your own ISBN on Amazon and on whatever the other platform, and then you just hope for that. Let them battle it out. So I think
otherwise either you provide 2 ISBNs or you get 2 free ISBNs and then somebody else can figure it out in the back end.
Yeah, you could go that route. That's true. Isn't this fun?
None of it. Authors are not being penalized for any of this stuff at this point. It's creating a whole lot of data mess. I would not want to be the one on the back end trying to figure out how to control these catalogs when now we have one book that has multiple ISBN numbers, where the entire point of having an ISBN number is so that you have a unique reference number for a unique book in a unique format. But it's also not something we can control. We can simply look at it and go, wow, isn't this a thing? All right, speaking of things being things, Virginie, you have been away for a long time, so you must be first today for telling us about all of the irrelevancy in your world.
Oh, actually, this is a really good segue with this catalog filing and everything. Like for someone who has OCD like me, and I think it's getting closer to become a clinically diagnosed OCD, and that I do not want to do the job of that person trying to figure out which ISBN is with which book and so on. Just the thought of it gave me a little bit of a anyway. So it's very relevant to my irrelevant moment. So I've been thinking about this OCD thing, and I don't know if it's something that's in it or if it's something that's you acquire. And I feel like the older I get, the worse it becomes. And I was walking from my daughter's school yesterday, and on the pavement there's there's like a line between each tile of the pavement, And I cannot walk on those lines. So I have to walk in a way so that I'm skipping those lines, so I'm not stepping on those lines. Okay, I got home, and this morning I bring my daughter back to school, and I realized that she does that. And she can't walk on those lines. And I've been like, oh my God, is it me? Is it, I give it to her? But then I'm thinking, actually, no, she has always been like that since she was a baby. That's what she does. She has her own way of like skipping some of the things and doing some of the things in a really particular way. So it got me thinking, like, is it something that we get from birth, or is it something that we get, as we grow in life? But anyway, so that was my kind of philosophical thing. Like, this is, yeah. Anyway, so that's my very irrelevant moment. But yeah. What about you, Jenna?
So what about me? So it is summer here, and I have been spending many, many, many of my mornings with my daughter at the swimming pool, because she is finishing out her lessons. And I've decided as a mom that swimming lessons is a required thing up to a certain point. I want that safety of, if she were to go over to a friend's house and there's a pool in the backyard and she fell in, she could get back out of it safely, and all of those kinds of things. So I always told her, you have to take lessons until you pass the basic lessons, and I'm sure that you're not going to fall in and sink to the bottom. And today she finally did it. She has passed the last of them. She has passed the basic swim level, and she is such a beautiful little mermaid. She is just so stinking cute. And her teachers said, yeah, you really just put her right into stroke school, because she should be swimming with the team by the end of the summer. And that's just that fun mommy moment of, yay, my kid found a thing that she's really, really good at. And it makes me so happy. But yeah, I love watching her. And she's so particular about, she loves having sparkly goggles, because she is such a girly girl. And so that was our other fun thing, is that we did some swimming suit shopping, because if she's going to keep doing this, she needs multiple suits. And then we went goggle shopping. And so she has 3 pairs now, and they are pink and purple, and they're covered in rhinestones. So when she swims, her head comes up and you see sparkle, 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 and then she dips back in. I'm like, that's just perfect. She's just a sparkle little mermaid, and it makes me happy.
Which really proves my point. It's all about the accessories, like chairs and tennis, and I mean,
It is.
let's not talk about how I'm going with those actual activities, but the point is accessories.
It's all about the accessories. I know she's talking about needing a nose plug, because she wants to be able to swim faster and not get quite so much water up her nose. And so I was looking around and going, I wonder if those have rhinestones on them. Because you could totally just rhinestone bedazzle the thing. And I'm not sure if that would be cute, or if that would be kind of a Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer thing.
Yeah.
So anyway, CJ, what is irrelevant in your world?
Well, it kind of goes hand in hand with what you're talking about with mermaids. Have you guys seen that documentary on Netflix about mermaids? Was it Netflix? I'm trying to remember. I think it was. Oh, I love documentaries. But it's about being a professional mermaid, where, you get hired for like the Renaissance Festival, or you get hired in Vegas, where these swimmers are, they're training to hold their breath underwater. They're training to be able to swim with actual, like, amazingly built mermaid fins. It is a whole culture. I watched the whole thing. I was fascinated. And then I was looking at it going, wow, this actually takes quite a bit of athleticism, because you have to be able to swim with it, but you also have to be able to hold your breath and pose and interact underwater, and like do whole shows underwater. And sometimes you have a hose, but most of the time you don't. You're just holding your breath and then going up, and you have to be able to keep your eyes open and not look like you're holding your breath. I was very impressed. But I was also unaware that my daughter wanted a mermaid fin for her birthday, and she just got it. And she looks so cute. And the Little Mermaid fin that she got, it's like stretchy material, but it also has like a legit fin prosthetic thing at the bottom where she puts her feet in it. And then the elastic stuff goes over it. And she swims like a beast out there, like fast. She's so fast. I was really impressed, and she loves it. She's having so much fun with it. But I was just like, I kind of want one. They're fun and they're sparkly. I mean, I don't necessarily want to be a professional like circus performer or a professional mermaid, but you know, my little 6-year-old inner child is sitting there going, I want a mermaid tail. How come nobody gave me a mermaid tail when I was younger? Because they didn't have them, I don't think, back then. But please go watch that documentary. It's really interesting. I'm going to go see it again, actually. I liked it so much. So that's my irrelevant moment. Anything else, ladies?
The beauty of capitalism, anyway.
Yeah, right?
Yep. More accessories. All about the accessories. All right. Thanks so much, ladies. And thank you to our listeners for joining us. You can find the show in the show notes at www.elantumdigital.com and follow the podcast on YouTube or your favorite podcast distributor. If you enjoyed the show, please subscribe and leave us a review. We'll see y'all later. Bye-bye.